good morning, and welcome to Daily Confetti with Carter and Keri on Unsafe Space. Today is Monday, September 16th, and we are happy that you're joining us. It's actually, we say good morning, but it's probably good afternoon, wherever you are.
We like to say good morning because when we record, it's morning usually. So
usually,
maybe not today so much for one.
Yeah,
of us. But
if you guys are new
Monday.
to the channel, happy Monday. Carter, I know I messaged you about this over the weekend, but the author of this Quillette piece about the knitting wars, we did the video about knitting,
Yes,
Ravelry. She found us and she shared our video to that knitting video to a couple of ex-Ravelry people or boards. And so the views on that one have gone up, and I know we got some subscribers from that. And then people started sending us some of their knitting. Remember?
Yes.
Remember at the end we were like, if you're doing wrong knitting.
Yes. We'd love to see pictures of wrong knitting. So welcome knitters. And
welcome knitters.
Yeah, send us pictures of your wrong knitting.
Yeah, but maybe in if some episode this week we can show some of the images of the wrong knitting.
Absolutely. I saw a Trump hat, I think. I don't remember what else I saw, but yeah.
Somebody has to knit just a Trump hair, like orange hair.
I just kind of want a hat that says wrong thinker. But, well, speaking of wrong think and or the left, I guess this isn't really wrong think. Well, it's wrong think to say anything, to question any narrative against Kavanaugh. So I guess it is wrong think. The thing that we want to talk about today is this New York Times article that came out on Sunday. I'll just pull it up, Keri. You want to see it?
Yeah.
Here's in all of its glory.
I've read a lot of pieces about this piece, but I haven't been able to read this because I don't want to pay New York Times $1 or whatever it is. And I'm past my free article limit. So let's go through it together. You introduce it to me.
I don't pay them either. And you just have to be good at using different browsers and clearing cache. Okay. So just start with the title. Brett Kavanaugh fit in with the privileged kids. She did not. So if you'll recall, Deborah Ramirez is not new. Deborah Ramirez was one of the accusers. I think she was the second accuser last year. And she claimed that Kavanaugh waved his penis in her face during a drunken party. And they've rolled this out again, the Dems, and almost this entire article is just about Deborah Ramirez, and this is written by Robin Pogrebin and Kate Kelly because they have this new book out, The Education of Brett Kavanaugh.
Yes, so this is basically a PR pitch. This is a way of promoting your product.
Yes.
If I had a client out, like if my partner and I, when we had our company, if she had a client out with a new album, we would pitch them writing an opinion piece for Spin or something.
This isn't an opinion piece, Keri.
This is
under news analysis.
This is the equivalent, though. Is my point is it should be. This is something that goes. It could be in the PR packet. We're going to write this thing for you because we're promoting a book.
Yes. Shocker, shocker. So, and here's how they kind of start. You can see the picture they're going to paint. Deborah Ramirez had the grades to go to Yale in 1983, but she wasn't prepared for what she'd find there. A top student in southwestern Connecticut, she studied hard but socialized little. She was raised Catholic and had a sheltered upbringing. In the summers, she worked at Carvel, dishing ice cream, commuting in the $500 car she'd bought with babysitting earnings. So you can see
it's a Lifetime movie.
Yes, it's starting like they've already in the title, Brett Kavanaugh, privilege. She's not privileged. Here she is, this angelic girl from southwestern Connecticut who had, by the way, said she would never touch a penis until she was married. The poor girl went off to Yale, and big bad Brett Kavanaugh and his privileged white buddies forced her to touch a penis. And that's the tone of this article. And before I even get into the article, Keri, I think it's important to figure out or to keep in mind just step back and ask ourselves why this is happening. Why are they talking about this? It's a year later. And I think one of the things is RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she's had 3 different kinds of cancer now, 4 different diagnoses, 4 times she's had cancer. Twice it was pancreatic cancer, once lung cancer, and once colorectal cancer. And she just was diagnosed again. I think the last one was another pancreatic cancer, and underwent irradiation. And I think the Dems are very freaked out that if she goes away and some retires or dies or whatever, that there's going to be another conservative on the bench. But they're pushing this.
Go ahead, but I'm going to disagree.
Well, they're pushing this impeach Kavanaugh thing now. Well, I think they are nervous about her. I don't know that this is directly related to that, but they're nervous about the Supreme Court generally. They're nervous about Roe v. Wade. And they're pushing this impeach Kavanaugh crap. You can see this guy, John Cooper, on Twitter. He's got a few 100,000 followers. He's like some operative for the Democrats. His title is chairman of the Dem Coalition. But he called on all the Democratic candidates to call for Brett's impeachment, for Justice Kavanaugh's impeachment. And so far, Castro, Kamala Harris, Warren, Beto, Pete Buttigieg, and Cory Booker have all called for Brett Kavanaugh's impeachment.
Right. But so here's what I think is happening. It takes this long to write a book. This is nothing more than two women wrote a book. It just now came out. And now you're seeing the Democratic Party respond to that news and the expectations of their base. So just like with all the Russia nonsense and everything, it's like the base expects something and they have to try and deliver and make it a thing. They know they're not going to be able to impeach him, but they have to stand out there and say the right things. Just like Beto hopefully knows he's not going to be able to take our AR-15s.
I don't know that he knows that, but yeah, I do think it is kind of a litmus test for are you going to say impeach Kavanaugh? Because that's the thing you're supposed to say now.
Yeah. In a way, they're beholden to and terrified of their SJW base.
Yes, I think you're right. Just to be clear, Keri, I pulled up this little pocket constitution from the Cato Institute. Article 2, Section 4. The president, vice president, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors. Pretty sure dangling your wang in front of someone at a drunken college party wouldn't count. So,
even if it happened, that's the whole point. This is what bothers me about all this is, and we can continue looking at that piece, but I also wanted to bring up a nation piece that I was looking at is not only are these, how old are these, 30-year-old?
35,
36-year-old allegations. But they're allegations and there's no way to verify if they happen or not. It's not like, it's not even comparable to the Harvey Weinstein stuff, which was a pattern and was recent all the way up until when the news broke. This is something that's ancient and there's been nothing in between. And in fact, in between, all you get is a list of how many female colleagues and people who have met him and known him and worked with him over the years signed that letter saying his character is impeccable and we stand by him. All these people, women he's interacted with over the past 30 years are that's not the Brett Kavanaugh we know if this happened. So these are ancient allegations. There's no way to prove if they happen or not. And there's no crime. And they're impeach him over what? He's never been convicted of anything. There was never even a police report filed. There's nothing on which to base this. There's nothing factual on which to base this. And yet you have the Blue Cathedral, you have the media, the legacy media pretending this stuff is fact. The way they write about it is as if it's fact.
Well, but I think they know deep down that it's bullcrap, which is why they have to use the language that they use to paint the picture of Deb Ramirez as this innocent victim who waddled into college at Yale and was exploited by the big bad boys club, including Brett Kavanaugh. But just to be clear about Deb Ramirez, like you said, it's 35, 36 years ago. They don't mention this in this piece, but I looked up some old pieces on her. She admitted that as much as this piece tries to paint her as like the girl who never drank, and she had never had one of the things in this article, she'd never had touched a drop of alcohol until Yale. She admits she was inebriated at the party. In fact, she was hesitant to come forward with her allegations at one point because her memory wasn't great because she was smashed. So, okay. She's also, these are her own words. She, quote, works towards human rights, social justice, and social change. So she's a social justice warrior. That's what she does. We already know that the social justice warriors, based on postmodernism, they explicitly reject objective reality. This lived experience crap is all that matters to them. Power is all that matters. Facts don't matter. So she has said, I'm in the camp of people who will literally do anything for power. That's my belief system. Also, I don't remember a lot of details. Also, people contradict my details. Also, some of the people that were supposed to corroborate didn't. And I was drunk, and it was 35 years ago. Oh, okay. And we're supposed to take that. We're supposed to take that seriously. That's the person that we are. This entire article is basically about Deb Ramirez.
Okay, so I've read pieces about the piece, but I haven't been able to read the piece. Aren't they saying that there were witnesses that the FBI did not interview?
Because the FBI wasn't tasked to interview those witnesses. The FBI was supposed to investigate Christine Blasey Ford.
Right.
So they did. Now, they weren't tasked with doing anything with the other allegations popped up. And the FBI didn't really investigate those other allegations. And I don't think the FBI should. The FBI should not be in the business of when someone comes to you 35 years later with this kind of a story, with a national figure, and be like, oh, we're going to go investigate based on hearsay. I mean, there is no, just to be clear, Keri, we can't know what happened 35 years ago. There's no physical evidence. There's not a collectively agreed story. It's not like everyone there agrees. There's like people don't remember, people recollect differently. And she has a clear motive. The only proper response here is, the only proper response here is, well, I presume the guy's innocent. Bring me some physical evidence, then we'll talk. But hearsay about 35 years ago is, this is not a case. And I think that they don't go to the police because the police wouldn't do anything.
Because there's nothing there.
There's nothing to do. A prosecutor looks at this and goes, there would never be a conviction here in a million years.
So I was struck by something. I was thinking about this while cooking breakfast this morning. So there's this show out on, I think it's Netflix right now, called Unbelievable. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a series about a real life. It's based on true events about a girl a young woman who was raped in 2008 by a stranger, an intruder who came in through a bedroom window. But she wasn't believed about it because she was raised in foster homes, and she had a foster mom who basically told the cops, like, don't believe anything she says. And then the cops in the show, like, they basically coerce her, manipulate her into saying that she made the whole thing up. And then they take the unusual step of filing charges against her for making a false police report. So not only do they not believe her, and then later on, these other detectives start chasing this serial rapist, and they connect it back to her, and she's exonerated. They find out, oh my gosh, not only did we prosecute this girl for no reason, but she also, was raped and horribly treated by the system and the people that were supposed to protect her and her counselors and everyone. Right. And so I was thinking about that show because the scene where the cops are basically like, just say that it's a lie. Just say that you made it up and you can go. And it's one of those cases like where people false confess almost. Mm-hmm. It's like they just want to go home. They're stressed. They're tired. And this person is like, look, if you just say this, it'll be okay. And so then they say it. And
then it's not okay.
And it's not okay. I was thinking about that in relation to Kavanaugh because I saw a piece. The piece was basically like, I forget which, it wasn't the Nation piece that I'm talking about. It was a different one. But the piece in mainstream media was basically saying, look, Brett Kavanaugh didn't defend himself during confirmation hearings by saying, hey, guys, I got drunk in high school and college, and I did a lot of things that I regret sexually with women. If he didn't say that, he said none of this happened. And the article was like, if he would just say that,
everything would be okay.
Everything would be okay.
Right.
And I'm like, comparing the two, it's the same. In one case, you've got a girl who actually was raped, and they're coercing her to say she wasn't. And then you got a guy who, innocent until proven guilty, there's no evidence he sexually molested or harassed any of these women, but he's being coerced into saying that he did. Look, if you just say you did. And I think people, they so often fall on, I side with the accuser, or I side with the victim, or whatever, and they can't see that he's in the place of that girl, like because they view him as the accused, right? And it's like, yeah, but you're putting him in the same place. The media is putting him in the same place. The Democrats are putting him in the same place, where they're basically like, look, just confess to this part of it, and then we'll be okay. No, and it won't be okay, because then they've got you, and they're trying to get you to confess to a lie.
Right. Well,
anyway.
It also reminded me a little bit of 1984, because there's this rewriting of history. Like, so as we go through this, we don't have to go through this whole New York Times article, but if you look at the article, I mean, I showed you how it started, right? And it's this like, I had gone through high school, I'm the good girl, and now in one evening it was all ripped away. They're painting this narrative, right, based on hearsay. And I honestly believe that people end up believing their own lies. Like we talked about in 1984, do you really know? Winston didn't know really what was true and what wasn't at the end of the day. He wasn't like, it was getting difficult to tell the difference. And when he was imprisoned, right, he was asking like, well, have we always been at war with East Asia, or was it, I thought it was Eurasia. Maybe O'Brien's right. Maybe you start questioning yourself, and human memory is pretty fallible. And this is 35 years ago. So they're just trying to paint a narrative, because the narrative will become fact in a lot of people's brains. A lot of leftists will be like, and they've looked at this article and like, it's fact. This is fact. This happened to her. Absolutely. Right. But that's just because they've heard the story over and over and over again. But Santa Claus isn't real just because you keep hearing the story. Like, that doesn't make it real.
Yeah. Well, can I share part of this Nation one? Actually,
yeah. By the way, there is one other aspect to this article you should know about, but do the Nation one first.
There's so many things wrong with this, like we've talked about before, where they're just taking stuff for truth that's not truth. So this is in the Nation. How to fight Brett Kavanaugh. Now, in the title, it presumes that we should be fighting Brett Kavanaugh.
Well, I think readers of the Nation probably agree on that.
Yeah, but I mean, just come on. How to fight Brett? Okay, why? How about why we should fight Brett Kavanaugh?
Right.
But okay, how to fight him? Removing a Supreme Court justice is nearly impossible, but Democrats can still weaken his power. Okay, so the goal here is for Democrats to weaken his power. Thank you for being upfront and honest about what this is all about. Okay, listen, just a little bit of it. The grim reality is that Brett Kavanaugh will almost certainly be sitting on the Supreme Court, blah, 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 for a while. Impeachment is still a possibility.
No,
especially it's not. Especially after the New York Times published a blockbuster report that offered extensive corroboration for a serious allegation. Yes, it is a serious allegation that Kavanaugh is guilty of sexual assault.
You know what? I don't want to be the asshole guy here. It's not a serious allegation. A drunken party where someone pulled their pants down and waved their wang around and you slapped it away is not a serious allegation.
Okay, you're right.
It's
rude.
Right. It's bad. It's not becoming of a Supreme Court justice. But 18-year-olds getting sloshed at a party and doing stupid things like that is not a serious allegation.
You're right. When the Trump administration stampeded Kavanaugh's confirmation through the Senate. No, okay, so you say stampeded. Here's what I saw, and this is coming from people who watch the show. No, I'm a lifetime Democrat until this past November, and the whole Kavanaugh thing is part of what pushed me over. I was so furious that I was like, I mean, it also, there's no way I could vote for Beto because he's not a liberal, but I was so furious. It was a turning point for me in which I definitively, I felt like I've walked away from my old party. because it wasn't a stampeding of Kavanaugh. It was a witch hunt. And that's what was happening. Okay, look, confirmation to the Senate last year. Credible accusations were leveled against the judge by 2 women. Credible. They weren't credible.
Credible means something that they like the outcome of.
Right. But they're not using that word correctly. They were not credible allegations. Christine Blasey Ford's allegations were not credible. We talked about those at the time. Christine Blasey Ford, who described a sexual assault when she encountered high school students, and Deb Ramirez, who claimed that Kavanaugh thrust his penis at her face at a party when they were students at Yale. Only Ford was allowed to testify at the Senate hearings, but the Times, correcting newspapers on previous coverage, now found multiple sources supporting Ramirez's claims. The Times also made clear the FBI did not fully investigate. So we touched on this already. And then this is the new one that they're all talking about. This is not even an alleged victim. This is an alleged third-party witness of a different story. It says a sketchier, they even have to admit it's sketchy, a sketchier story from a Yale classmate who claims to have witnessed Kavanaugh committing assault as an undergraduate. That one, I'm like, I don't know anything about that one, but the fact that they're even including it, it's a third party, it's not even from the alleged victim, and you yourself have to say it's sketchy, given all of your bias up here, that tells me there's probably nothing there.
Right. Just to be clear, Ramirez, the people that she claimed were egging Kavanaugh on and were part of the whole thing, she remained friends with one of those guys for years afterwards. So, and also a weird thing to do if it happened. And Andrew, one of our listeners, brought this up the other day. Blasey Ford at the time did claim, there's zero political motivation behind this. I don't want to come forward. Senator Ted Cruz, in fact, the other day on television, reminded us all that the Senate offered Blasey Ford the ability to testify privately if she didn't want to make a public stink about it. Her lawyers supposedly didn't tell her this offer, but the offer was real.
BS.
She claimed that this was not at all political, but of course her lawyer, in recently uncovered footage, speaking somewhere else, admitted that part of the motivation was Roe v. Wade and her concern about Kavanaugh and how he would rule on Roe v. Wade. So that's not a smoking gun. It doesn't mean she made it up, but it does bring into question her motives. And she was claiming that she had pure motives. And after all, we're supposed to believe that she had pure motives, but it turns out actually they weren't 100% pure. She was partly motivated by this Roe v. Wade thing, which is political.
Of course. Well, and this guy that they mention here, this third party guy who claims to have witnessed something where there's no alleged victim who's talking, he's connected to the Clintons.
Right.
You saw that, right? He's like part of some Clinton, I don't know. I didn't get too far into that.
I mean, you don't even have to be connected to the Clintons to misremember or like her better or think it's the politically expedient thing to do to side with her. I mean, people side. You can see everyone siding with, like, if someone, well, not for you, but if someone went up to if you pick a random social justice warrior who's the right age off the street and be like, oh, remember you were at a party with Kavanaugh that one time. You probably don't remember, but he did blah, blah, blah. You know, they're very likely to be like, yeah, I kind of remember that. Like, that's how people's memories work. Oh,
well, also you can see it happen in the moment on camera in that, the meme, the SJW Trigglypuff. Yes. So there's this video of when Jordan Peterson was speaking at a university and they were holding a protest trying to drown him out outside. And at one point, one of the SJW protesters like shoves a rebel, was it a rebel reporter or shoves someone? And it's on camera. And then there's another SJW bystander who's standing there who she looks right at the camera and she goes, I didn't see anything. Like she's just like this nasty, evil face about like, I didn't see anything. Like,
That's assault right there. Officer, I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything that happened. There's no reason to be I didn't see anything.
And she knows, and her face is telling you she knows she's lying. She's like, nothing happened, officer. I saw nothing. And it's like lying because she feels like it's good to lie. And it's good to lie because why? It's in the service of something that this person feels is just and moral and important.
Yes. And as a reminder, it's, I'm not saying dismiss what she's saying because she's a social justice warrior, this Deb Ramirez, but you do need to understand that it's not entirely impossible that she just lies, because that is part of the ideology. It's to lie. That's part of the ideology.
Again, and I was careful back then to say the same. I'm not saying that she's lying. I don't know. That's the whole point. We don't know. But we can't know. But the people who were supporting her were saying, well, she's not lying. I'm like, how do you know? Well, I know because no, you don't know. And then they would say, well, why would someone lie about this? That's why we're having this conversation. What you and I say now, obviously there's a reason why somebody would lie about this. In this case, there's a great political motivation.
Right. And I don't know this, but for all we know, Deborah Ramirez may have some financial stake in some of the stuff that's going on. I don't know. But she doesn't need it. She's got political stake and moral stake, which is even more important to a lot of people than financial stake. If she's a social justice warrior, she's likely to do anything and say anything in order to help fight his power, as whatever the article was that you just shared, right?
Yeah.
How can you fight his power? The other thing about this article, though, Keri, and this has been in the news. This is one of the main things in the news about the article, and it's important, is although this is mostly, it's setting up a little narrative about how, Mr. Kavanaugh fit the more traditional mold. He went to prep school, blah, 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 right? So, she's working class. Kavanaugh is a big jerk who's from, an entitled brat. They made fun of her. She didn't understand the reference to Debbie Does Dallas. They made fun of her. She was very innocent coming into college.
Wait, I didn't get to read this whole thing. So who made fun of her? Are they saying that Brett Kavanaugh did, or just people in general?
People.
Oh, people did. Okay.
Debbie Cheerleader or Debbie Dining Hall, or would start to say Debbie Does, playing on the 1978 porn movie Debbie Does Dallas. But Ms. Ramirez didn't understand the reference. She was very innocent coming into college, says someone she roomed with, right? People made fun of her knockoff Air Jordans. Like, is this literally an article about junior high school mocking?
It is. I mean, you could write this article about me and talk about the wooden clogs that I wore to school because I thought they were cool and everyone made fun of them, and, all the nicknames that this is dumb. You could write this about anyone.
Right. She did not see herself as a victim of ethnic discrimination, but now, of course, after graduating, oh yes, I was definitely discriminated against. But the other thing that goes on here, they talk about Ramirez quite a lot. But one other thing that they have in this article, which made its rounds on Twitter and was considered a bombshell as part of this report, Keri, was this paragraph here. We also uncovered a previously unreported story about Mr. Kavanaugh in his freshman year that echoes Ms. Ramirez's allegation. A classmate says that he saw Kavanaugh pull his pants down at a different drunken party.
Oh, this is the one I was talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. A classmate next saw Mr. Kavanaugh with his pants down at a different drunken dorm party where his friends pushed his penis into the hand of a female student. Okay? Now,
this is the one that the nation calls sketchy.
Well, this is also the one that prompted a lot of this outrage. Oh, there's another one. But it's the New York Times, Keri. Let's scroll down. Editor's notes. An early version of this article, which was adapted from a forthcoming book, did not include one element of the book's account regarding an assertion by a Yale classmate that friends of Brett Kavanaugh pushed his penis into the hand of a female student at a drunken dorm party. The book reports that the female student declined to be interviewed, and friends say that she does not recall the incident. The victim does not recall the incident that's been used and pushed around. So what the New York Times did is they pushed this article out. They got people all whipped into a frenzy, not only about old Ramirez allegations with no new information here, just more whipping into a frenzy, but they dropped this other bomb saying, oh, look, someone else has a similar experience with Kavanaugh. Look how similar it is. His pants down again and someone forced to touch his penis. Oh, the next day we'll quietly just, oops.
Yeah, sorry. Just so the people...
Sorry for the fire we started.
Yeah, just so people aren't confused, this is the third one in the Nation piece, the one that they say an even sketchier allegation, because there is no female victim who's come forward at just like what they point out in their little footnote there, which is the most important thing. I didn't realize she had also said she doesn't recall this. There's no victim. There's no person saying this happened to me. This is a third-party account by someone this is the guy who worked, has some kind of relationship to the Clintons. I was just looking it up real quick to see if I could find it.
Max Stein or whatever his name is. He works for a nonprofit in DC. I didn't see any particular relation, but I didn't research him deeply. The nonprofit looks like something that I would want to slip my wrists. I'm just saying, no, I don't think there's some nefarious. I'm just saying we know his politics because he's worked with the Clinton. Like, this guy's on the left. Oh, of course he's on the left.
That's my whole point. That's the only point I'm making with that. Yes.
Yeah, of course he's on the left. Keri, I'm going to do some shameless self-promotion. I wrote an article about a year ago about Brett Kavanaugh, postmodernism, and what was going on with this whole thing. I'm going to post a link to it below because I think unfortunately it's relevant again to remind people what's actually going on here. But it's not a search for the truth. It's not any kind of rational analysis of the facts or trying to get at justice. This is just a naked power grab using whatever words they can try and sling at people to get power. That's all it is. And as you mentioned, this particular piece is just a litmus test. If this is the thing they're parading around to Democratic candidates for the presidency in 2020, saying it's kind of like when they yell, "Will you disavow?" Right? They're saying, "Well, will you support impeachment of Kavanaugh?" Right? It's a non-issue. The right response is Kavanaugh can't be impeached on this. Who cares? Right? This isn't we don't know that it's even true. And even if it were, this is not an impeachable offense. So no, I don't support impeaching Kavanaugh. That's a waste of time. But of course, that's not how the Dems are responding. All the star players, I guess Bernie didn't, Bernie and Biden, I don't see on that list yet. But again, Castro, Harris, Warren, Beto, Pete Buttigieg, and Cory Booker all expressly calling for Kavanaugh's impeachment over a promotional article about a book that, as you said, Keri, is basically just a Lifetime movie in black and white.
It's nonsense, but it's them responding to, I really do think it's just, they are beholden to, we've talked about Beto before, is beholden to his SJW base. That's why I'm not walking back to the Democratic Party until they start running liberals again. He is not a liberal. These people are not liberals. Their party, my old party, has been corrupted by this illiberal authoritarianism, this Marxist, this identity politics based Marxism, and they're shameless. Like, they are behaving in the way that we used to criticize Republicans for behaving, but they care only about power. All the things I used to say about Republicans, I'm like, holy crap, that's true about all of these Democratic candidates, with the exception of, as you know, I like Tulsi Gabbard. But all the rest, look, all of them. I got a text from someone over the weekend. I think I said this to you because I voted for Bernie, right? And I'm on some text list, and they're like, "Hey, just wanted to know if we can count on you for Bernie this time." And I gave them an earful. What? No.
That because you had blurted out like the names, so no one knew who it was. I actually shared it with a friend of mine who was asking about. She was talking about some election stuff, and I was saying, no, like here's a Democrat. This is a Democrat I know. This is her reaction to what's going on. And it spawned quite a long discussion, and I think actually might have had an impact on their thought process to see that, there are, like, walkaway is real.
Walkaway is totally real. And people want to put their head in the sand, but it's real. I mean, you know this, but I have tons of friends who are, my friend Mike Harlow helped film the walkaway video with Brandon, the original one. But what Brandon did was create a way for all of us to come together and realize, oh, I'm not the only one. And that created a movement, because I had walked away like a year prior to some degree, when I wrote my essay about leaving the SJW cult. But I didn't realize there were all these other people who didn't realize, who were going through the same thing. And it's like, oh, we're all feeling the same thing about our party and having to leave it. and it painfully for some of us. And it was really nice to have this person, you know, bring everyone together and create this place for people to gather and share their stories. And to this day, sometimes I talk to people on the left, like more of like leftists, not liberals, who don't want to believe this is happening and continue to buy the propaganda that's fed to them by the Blue Cathedral, which says, oh, these are all Russian bots. And that's what they want to believe. And so they believe it. And it's like, you can go into the forums and you can watch the videos of actual people and listen to them about why they're leaving, but they don't want to know.
Right. Yeah. I do feel compelled to say, as a voluntarist who's neither Republican nor Democrat, I've always thought that both parties were power-hungry statists who were dishonest. I just felt like the Democrats were doing it in one area more than another area, and the Republicans were the inverse, doing it in the other area, but not that area. And Democrats used to be, for example, they used to be reliably anti-war. It was like, all right, at least they're the ones who will protest the war. The Republicans, the war hawks, are going to go to war. Now I've seen, you know, as an outsider, I've seen the shift in the Democratic Party. They've gone from being the statists when Republicans are freedom lovers, and freedom lovers when Republicans are statists. They've gone from being that to just being outright authoritarians. Just like, yep, they're basic. I mean, there's very little distinction between, frankly, actual Nazis and the social justice left. I mean, it's not anti-Jew, but other than that, the way that they talk, how they compare people based on the colors of their skin or their ethnic origin to animals or to insects, the way that they dehumanize, and the way that they demand absolute adherence and obedience to every whim of their edicts. If they decide you're supposed to impeach Kavanaugh, you better freaking fall in line. And if you don't, you're out.
Their desire to, with force, censor you, to prevent you from going and hearing speeches or reading books that you want to read, or their desire to pull things off the market so you don't get a chance to read them, or you don't get a chance to go see them and or go listen to certain people. Like their desire to, I mean, they support physical violence. We've been seeing this escalation in the media ever since Trump was elected. They support violence, and not violence in self-defense. They support violence, the initiation of force. Yes, the initiation of force. And one of the ways they try and justify this is by trying to conflate speech with violence. That's why they do that. That's why they say your speech is harmful, right, so that they can feel justified responding with actual violence.
Right.
They are authoritarian. And look at them. We're going to take your guns. Wow, look at history. Look at who has taken their citizens' guns and then what happened. I think there are a few examples you might possibly be able to look at. I couldn't help it the other day. I had this former friend of mine who unfriended me when she found that I didn't vote for Beto, and told me that I wasn't cool anymore and whatever, in this one little friend group in particular. I couldn't help it. I'm just like, this is a person who was trying to lecture me on my vote and doesn't pay the slightest bit of attention, not only really to what's going on currently, but has no historical understanding whatsoever. And I'm like, I couldn't help it, but with the stuff that he started saying, like about like, we're just, heck yeah, we're coming to take your guns or whatever he said, you know. Yep. I couldn't help it but send her just a quick message and be like, you know, nice liberal authoritarian you voted for there.
Yep. Like
that you had the gall to lecture me. And I was telling you back then, this is not a liberal candidate, but I understand why people vote for him. And I didn't unfriend people over voting for him. It's like, they are such small-minded, intolerant people.
Keri, I agree with you. I want to share, there's a Twitter person I follow, Raylene Liberty. I don't know who she is personally, but she's a small account, so I'm going to give her some love because I like this tweet she shared. Given a number, collection of your blood and prints the day you're born, forced injections, the ability to kidnap your children, spying on anything and everything you do, building FEMA camps and walls, disarmament of the population. What could go wrong? That's what you need to be thinking about when you hear the Democrats and frankly, a lot of times the Republicans. That's what's going on. That's what's going on.
Look, I know we talked about Kavanaugh Day and we have to wrap this up, but I'm furious about the Beto stuff and the gun stuff again. And I'd love to talk about that this week because, this burns me up like nothing else. And just having the same conversations again and trying to have them in a civil and calm way with people who don't know what they're talking about guns, or who don't here's what I don't like. They come into a thread and they question the motives and the goodness of people who disagree with them. And people don't do that to them. And they have no right to do that. And it infuriates me that that's how so often people on the anti-gun side start the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we can definitely talk about guns later this week. I mean, Beto's doubled down on his hell yeah, we're taking your AR-15s, and
yeah, come and take it, Beto. I love it. The Texas, the Alamo thing with the come and take it.
Yeah.
There's one now with an AR-15 that just says, I love it.
Well, and just as a reminder, when he was running against Ted Cruz, he was asked this explicitly on a radio program. There's clips of this going around, and he said, no, let me be clear. If you have your AR-15, you can keep it. We just want to not sell any more in the future.
You can keep your doctor.
Right, exactly. I was going to say, exactly like Obamacare. You can keep happy with your doctor, keep your doctor. And obviously banning the sale of them, I'm also opposed to. But it's just an evidence that these people are they're just lying, and they'll go after your hunting rifle. They'll call it a sniper rifle, and they'll go after everything. They want to ban guns completely. That's their end goal. And once they've banned guns, there's really nothing to stop the government from doing whatever it wants.
Yeah. The Second Amendment protects the First.
All right. We're getting off topic.
Okay. So, I know that okay. One quick thing. Thank you to everyone who participated in book club. Last night we did George Orwell's 1984. It was so much fun. And you guys are so smart and so funny and have such interesting things to say that it pushes me to be better at this and to be fully present and not I like it. That whole thing about surround yourself with people who push you. Well, you guys do that. And so thank you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the discussions, and it's there's some smart, insightful people that are in there and bringing perspectives I hadn't thought of, and it's great. And I like being part of the community, and I like being forced to reread books that I haven't read in a really long time that are relevant. So that was great. So, all right. Whoa, was that your dog?
Yeah.
Growling?
I think the mailman is on his way down the street.
All right. We'll end it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. You can go and support us at Subscribe Star. Just look for Unsafe Space. And I don't know. Happy Monday. We'll see you tomorrow.